Hello, my name is Alvin Bradford and the owner and president of Al's Heating and Cooling. I want to review with you some information on how to operate and manage the maintenance for your HVAC system. HVAC means heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. As long as your system is operating, most people do not think of maintenance of the unit until it stops working. Well, there are things you need to do monthly to help prevent some of these expensive service calls. I invite you and your friends to log in on Thursdays, this Thursday, October the 7th, 2021 at 6 p.m. to hear and learn information that will help you to save money on operating of your HVAC system. It's easy to do. If you can go to your computer, your smartphone, or your iPad and enter into the address bar joingotomeeting.com. Put in the access code 846-660-861, or you can call on the cell phone 1-872-240-3212, access code 846-660-861. Looking forward to seeing you on Thursday. Bring your questions and let's talk.
I'm ready to roll with my presentation, and I ask everybody to be prepared for another informative evening. If you got any questions, if you don't want to butt in on me, you can actually just write the question down if you like to. But I want to greet everybody to our Thoughtful Thursdays here with R&R Fellowship Church, which I like saying Redemption and Restoration Church. We are the church members of the Church Ecclesia of Jesus Christ. Today is Thursday, October the 7th, 2021. The Thoughtful Thursdays, Al's Heating and Cooling Incorporated, HVAC maintenance and efficiency. For the introduction, I want us to look at a few things. As you see them pop up on the board, if you can see them, we will be talking about furnace, air conditioning, evaporator coils, filters, ductwork, flue piping, thermostats, humidifier, humidistat, duct cleaning, heating and cooling loss. Now, that's a long list of 11 things, but we're not going to be here an hour on each one of those. So we will get through this very quickly. And then at the end, I have a special introduction into winter and summer startups. So let's prepare for that because it's getting close for us to start using our furnaces if you haven't already done so. My wife was showing to me that we have look like we may have our last 80-degree day here for the rest of the year, sometimes next week. All right, so let's talk about furnaces, and hopefully you can see my screen. This is a picture of one of the furnaces that I did install. It's a new furnace. It's a Goodman furnace. If you can see my arrow, I'm pointing to the on-off switch on side the furnace. Some furnaces that have been previously installed years ago do not have an on-off switch that is close, that is against code. Now, when you have one installed, this shut-off switch is supposed to be within arm's reach or within 3 feet of the furnace. The next thing you see is my condensate piping, which is on the on the evaporator coil. Some people, when they install, because the cheapness, they use a plastic tubing. I don't like using the plastic tubing because they will plug up. So if I'm not putting your install in when you need a new furnace and AC, the one thing you want to look for is this PVC piping, which is a 3/4 piping coming off and going to a drain or to a condensate pump that will direct the condensation out of the home into to an exterior place being pumped out by the pump. The next part you see is flue piping, which is screwed in here on the top of the furnace. Some of them do come out the side of the furnace. The flue gases are very important. part of a furnace system because when you burning natural gas, it produces carbon monoxide, and carbon monoxide is in that system, and that piping should be sealed where there's no leaks coming into the home, which can cause people a slow death or slow poisoning over a period of time because they may not realize that they're breathing that carbon monoxide. Now, there's been a couple people in my past history when I have gone into the homes to repair furnaces, and there's one lady that I remember distinctly. I used to go to church to it, and then Sister Bowman is on the line. She also went to the same church. I won't give out any names. She died at the age of 30 some years of age. She had cancer, and I'm not for sure how much of a connection it had to do with her furnace, because when I went to take her old one out, the heat exchanger was cracked and it did not have safeties as they have on the equipment today. And I don't know how many years she had been breathing that carbon monoxide. Uh, but that's just a thought that is possible. It didn't cause immediate death, but it's very possible to have caused a slow death or poisoning of your system. So don't take your flue gas lightly when we talk about it. You got the flue on top of your hot water heater if it's a natural gas system. Okay, there was another experience I had where there was a family of 8 in a home, and there were 6 of those were children from ages from I'd say 8 to 17, and it looked like the family was constantly being plagued with mental illness. But when I went in to change the furnace, I discovered that that furnace flue had been leaking, and not only leaking it, it was disconnected in one part going into the flue. That's why the city code now, when they come out to examine equipment, they look for these deficiencies. And also, if you ever call the fire department or the gas company and they come out, these are things that they look for, and they will tag your system to have a qualified HVAC person to look at your equipment to be able to correct any unsafe conditions of your furnace. The next one here is I'm showing the furnace burners. On this furnace, it's only 3 tubes that produce a flame. Usually you can count that if there's 3 of them, each one of them is about 25,000 BTUs of heating per burner that you will find on your furnace system. My next one is the condensing unit, which is normally outside on the side of the building. This is another install of mine that I did for a customer of mine. This one here is a higher SEER of efficiency, but it's still, and it's one of the new ones with the R410A refrigerant in it. On this system here, you will find there's a disconnect switch. By law, it has to be with arm's reach within a reasonable distance to immediately shut it off in the event something happens or when the serviceman is actually working on it. That pipe that you see, or this flexible line coming from the disconnect, is the supply going to the condensing unit, because the condensing unit does need 220 power to operate. The refrigerant supply and return line, which you see here, is what's coming out of the building and is wrapped in this black insulation, because the one of the tubing coming from the furnace has to be insulated from the furnace all the way back to the condensing unit. On the left side, you will see a high efficiency supply air to furnace. Now, this is only used on high efficiency furnaces. When you have a high efficiency furnace, you have to have the PVC pipe coming from the furnace going to the outside. In this case, it's a 2-pipe system, which you will see that I have for the exhaust air, which the carbon monoxide air comes from the furnace. Both of these is being, one turns down, one shoots out. You can't mix the 2 air. So when you see plastic vents on the outside of a building, it can be a commercial or it could be residential, and especially if you see 2 pipes like this close to each other, it's a good indication they have a high efficiency furnace on the inside, which is being supplied. And once again, you have the evaporator coil condensate line. In this case, it goes to the furnace, and the evaporator coil is going to a condensate because they do not have a floor drain in the floor for the water to go. So we have run the piping from the furnace across the ceiling, interior ceiling of their basement area out to the side so that the condensate water will come out here. What they had previously before I got involved was a garden hose attached to the evaporator, which was running across the floor into another area in the home, which is shabby, which is a safety hazard. I removed both of those for the convenience and the safety of the customer. Now, this next one you're looking at here is the evaporator coil. This is what sits above the furnace, and gets cold when the condensing unit outside is running. It causes these coils to get cold, and the blower in the furnace blows the air through this coil, and that's how you get that wonderful cool air in the summertime. However, there are some that have a heat pump. What the heat pump does is the reverse. Instead of this coil getting cold to produce cold air through the fan system of the furnace, it produces hot air. This is how in the wintertime you get heat from the same unit outside as you're cooling. That unit runs winter and summer. Keep in mind also that because it runs during the summer and the winter, it's extensive runtime on that unit. But it is necessary for whatever design installation for their home is required. Here's the part that a lot of people do not think of, and some of you might run now and go check on your furnace filter. If you see my picture here, the picture on the left shows an extremely dirty filter. That's all the dust and dirt that it has sucked through out of your home onto that filter. To the right, you see there are different filters, and you see how clean they look before you put them in. Go back to the one on the left side, you see how dirty it is. So it is necessary for you to change your furnace filter. Sometimes it depends on the amount of dust in your air. That filter may have to be replaced every month, sometimes twice a month. Every 2 months. Some do every 3 months. Now, the one picture on the right shows what we call an air bearer filter. It's thicker. Those filters normally do not have to be replaced, but maybe once or twice within a year. Either or, when you put your filter in, you should put the date on the filter so that way we can, and you will know when that filter was last replaced. It makes it very easy for you to maintain your system. A dirty coil causes extensive damage. A dirty filter causes extreme dirty conditions also inside the furnace, which causes breakdowns. It also gets on the evaporator coil, that dirt, and it will reduce the efficiency of your system. Not to mention you're recycling air that has additional contaminants that are constantly floating around in your air. And it is always best to have your filter in and a clean one to help cut down on the allergens. Now, there's a lot more detail I can get into about filters. I'm not going to do it at this time. If you'd like to ask me additional questions, feel free to do so. Now, the other part which people don't pay attention to, they find it very annoying, is the ductwork system. The ductwork system is what is attached to your furnace setup so it can deliver air to the different rooms. In that duct, dirt can get in it, and it sits there. And there's also a great added place to recirculate the dirt in the air, which some people in their home may be sneezing often, or they're not comfortable in their home because the air is not clean. There are some people who really need additional steps, such as an electronic air cleaner, and they got some other electronic devices now that clean the air that will also remove anthrax. The only reason I bring that up is to show you the extent of the importance of how to keep your ductwork clean so that the air that you're getting is also clean. I have a business, they have 26 units in them. They permitted me to put in 14 of the units in strategic areas, places where they're able to condition the air. And because the air is a common plenum above their ceiling, out of the different areas, they are cleaning that airspace. And it's especially because of COVID, they're using it as another degree or another step to assure their employees, as well as people coming into the building, that that business has done all that they can to give them a safe breathing air, clean air for them to breathe. So it is necessary for even for you to consider your health when you're breathing that recycled air in your home. Here's an area that is a flue that I went to someone's house, and this is their old furnace setup, and it was a mess. But I just used this picture as to show the flue, what it looks like coming off the top of the furnace, and the joints, and how easy it is for each of those joints to allow carbon monoxide to escape into your home. So when you call me out or you call a mechanic out, they should be looking at anything that makes and provides your system not a good one for you to have operating or for you to breathe in. Now, if you can look in this picture, I see off to the right that plastic tubing I told you I don't use. That's what was used on this one. I didn't change the furnace out. The coil was supposed to have been replaced by somebody else. I don't know if they replaced it, but that tube is what I was referring to. And if you got it in your house, you can expect it to eventually plug up. When it plugs up, it doesn't drain the water, then the water runs down all throughout the furnace, runs down on your floor. It's a major problem when it comes to the safety of your equipment, especially the new furnaces with the electronics. It can blow the control board out. It can start rusting out the bottom of the furnace. It starts running water on your floor, and if it gets on your walls, then you start having mold and mildew problems. It's just a mess. So you try to do everything you can to prevent those type of problems occurring. And if you can look also to the right down there, you got electrical wiring that does not have the proper wiring wire nuts on it. It can short out if somebody bumps that or cross those wires. Anyway, this system was just a disaster. I was not hired to correct the problems, but I hope they got it taken care of. Now, some people may not understand their thermostats. Now, this is one that I'm using now. It is by Honeywell, and I love it because when I put in a new system, I use this because of the convenience, and not to mention it keeps people from having to handle their thermostat because they operate it by their cell phone. So they can be laying up in bed, or they can be at work. They can be on the road traveling somewhere. As long as they have internet service, they can control what this thermostat does on the go or on the sleep. They might even be sitting within 10 feet of it because they're sitting on their couch and don't want to get up. Everybody normally has their cell phone that control the heating and the air conditioning by sitting right where they are. The little sensor there, I don't know if one of my customers on the line, Miss Jerkins, if she's on here or not, but I'm going to use her as an example. She had problems in her living room area of the air not being suitable. It seems to always be a problem between the air in that area, then in the kitchen and in the bedroom. So we put this sensor in the dining area, living room area, near where the return air is, and told that thermostat to read from that sensor. She has the option to do that whenever she wanted to, or read by the thermostat itself. Those are the options that people can do now without running a bunch of wires all over the house, cutting into walls. Last I spoke with her, she was extremely satisfied with that, and I'm glad. So there's one thing you want to think of when it comes to your thermostat. Your thermostat can cause you problems with the efficiency as well as the comfort level in your home. Now, this here is a humidifier and a humidistat. The humidifier to your left and the humidistat to your right. In the wintertime, when you running, especially an electronic air, not electronic, high efficiency furnace, the high efficiency furnaces remove more of the moisture out of the air, and it makes you feel cold even when the temperature is at 75 or 78 degrees. I had just put in a brand new system for somebody in their attic. She called me and told me, well, it is cold in my house and something's still wrong. Now, I know what she was saying. She don't spend all this money for me to put this new system in, and she's unhappy. So I asked her what was the temperature at the thermostat. She said, I have it at 75, but I raised it to 78 because I still feel cold. What I had to do was go back in and install a humidifier on her system because that new high efficiency system was taking the moisture out of the air, and moisture is what holds heat. That's why in the summertime when it's humid, if the air conditioning doesn't run long enough, you still feel hot and you got the temperature set at 70 degrees. But once I put that humidifier in with a humidistat for her to operate her new system, there was never a call again, and that was probably 10, 12 years ago. So the humidifier is good. When the home dries out, that means you can walk across the carpet, touch something metal, you get shocked. Okay, what is that doing? Well, the humidity's out. It will cause your furniture to dry out. It will cause your drapes to dry out. It will cause your furniture to dry out, and it will cause you to dry out. You at night, especially if you're laying in your bed and your nose is real dry, or some people have nosebleeds because of it's so dry in the home. You need a humidifier installed. With a humidifier in the wintertime, I've heard people been able to operate their heating not at 75 or 78. They can operate it at 70 or 72 and be real comfortable. That's a saving because the system is not running so much to try to make sure you are properly with proper moisture in your air. The humidistat is set only in the wintertime to operate the humidifier, and you can set the humidity level that you want in your home. When your home in the wintertime has moisture on the windows, it's too humid in the house, even in the wintertime, because your humidity is attracted to those cold windows, and the cold windows causes the warm air inside and the cold air outside to match on that window pane, and that's how humidity starts to develop. The new windows have what we call double pane. That normally does not happen at all because the double pane windows are high efficiency windows, and it keeps that cold air from getting in and keeps your warm air from getting out. In the summertime, it's just the reverse. That's a great efficiency. Ductwork cleaning. If you can see my picture, the one that's up at the top, that is a very dirty ductwork. The one at the bottom is the same ductwork, but it's clean. How do you get that done? Well, you have to call a duct cleaning company, and they actually run brushes down in your system to clean it so that it removes all those allergens, pet dander, excuse me. It removes the pollens, the mold, and other bacteria that develops in your airflow system. Once again, a clean system will help cut down on the amount of sneezing that you will be doing because you're breathing dirty air. The bottom picture on the right is if that vent is pulled up and you can look down in it, you can sometimes see all the different stuff that's down in your vent system yourself. Take a shop vac and clean that out. That's some things that you can do on all your vents the best you can. But if you got a new home, that should not be a problem. But after about 10, 15 years, you might still want to do it yourself, even sooner if you have pets in your house. If the filter does not catch all of these contaminants, it ends up in your duct system. You have little bugs and other stuff that gets inside your duct system that you don't see. They lay in there and they die, or they have eggs. When they die, their flesh deteriorates. It becomes airborne, and guess where it goes when it comes out into the air, into your room where you laying up there asleep, breathing in all of this pet dander, allergens in the air, pollens, mold, and other bacteria. So keep in mind the necessity of keeping your air duct system clean. Now, I want to talk about heating and cooling air loss. Sometimes it's not your HVAC system that is a problem. Sometimes it can be your doors and your windows are losing air. I know a customer that changed their all their windows in their home, and their electrical and gas bill dropped over 60% because they were losing so much air, either in or out, in the winter or the summer, through their doors and their windows. Another part you have to look at is poor or little ceiling and wall insulation. If you can put your hands on the wall in the wintertime and you got your temperature on 70 degrees, 72 on the inside, and that wall feels cold, the outside cold is coming inside your home through that wall. That'll let you know how fast you will lose your heating or cooling, and that loss causes you additional cost. Now, some people in older houses have ceiling insulation, but over years that insulation collapsed and it's dried out and it's not giving you any insulation. So you need to have your ceiling area sprayed again to bring that insulation thickness up to about 16 inches in thickness. If you're able to get up in your attic and you look and all you got is about 8 or 10 inches, you're losing a lot of your heating and cooling. Now, high efficiency windows, doors, and window curtains. I mentioned the windows and doors where we lose air, but you can get high efficiency windows. You can get higher efficiency doors. If you look at your door ratings in the stores, you go to Home Depot's, Lowe's. None of them paying me to say any of this, but go into any of your places where they sell doors, there is a energy rating on the doors and there's one on the windows. Also look at the window curtains. There are certain curtains you can buy that will help you keep in your heating and cooling in the house and not lose it through the windows. So if you got great curtains, heavy, thick curtains that block out the sun and also provide some type of insulation, that's also a plus. Now on high HVAC system efficiency, constant outer door opening and closing is another way you lose your heating and cooling. If you got kids in the house, sometimes kids have to be trained to stay in. I don't know about y'all. I heard this so much when I was going, either stay in the house or stay outside because we were running into the house so much. So that's one thing you may have. Watch the traffic going in and out of the house. And some people don't close the doors. They leave them open. They don't pay attention to what they're doing. Bad thermostats, as we just discussed earlier, can also cause you problems because it does not accurately retain the heating in your home. It might have a swing of about 4 or 5 degrees. Now, the old stats, that was normal. You had a 4 or 5 degree swing. Now, so they set it at about 73, and the swing would mean it'll come on at about 71. It might take it up to about 74, and go off, so you had to swing. The new thermostats keep it within 1 degree, or we can program them to even go 1 degree, 1.5, 2 degree, whatever is necessary. So bad thermostats can cause you problems. And I think Dr. Tyrona is also one who had a thermostat that was just doing its own thing, and she was unhappy with it. And she's got a new thermostat. And as a matter of fact, I haven't heard a report on that. She might want to give us a response to that here shortly. Poor operating HVAC equipment. If you have not maintained it, kept the filter clean, if you have not kept the outside condensing unit clean in the summertime, especially during the months of May and June, when that cottonwood trees got all that stuff floating in the air, your HVAC system, the condensing unit outside, will suck that into the coils of the unit on the outside. It will cause the unit to overheat because it's like taking and putting a blanket around it. You have to wash it down. If you let it get too bad, you got to call a professional out to flush it out so that the equipment will be clean and running well. Now, when that condensing unit is dirty and it's causing you to overheat the unit, when the higher that condensing unit operates at a higher temperature, your electric meter is likewise running around there even faster. So it's not only does it causing problems with the equipment, it is causing your electrical bill to go higher, and it's going to make you upset because of the cost that you're paying for that dirty unit. There was one person that did not pay attention to that. The unit overheated constantly and was shutting off, that it started tripping breakers. At that point, you may have caused additional problems with the condensing unit, and it has to be replaced. You want to avoid that, so take care of your system on the outside. Now I'm going to go into the winter and summer startups. This is only going to probably take me about 3-4 minutes, so we just about finished. We're coming up on the winter time right now. You do want your furnace looked at. You need the flues examined to make sure you're not getting any carbon monoxide usage coming into your home. You need to make sure that the humidifier is set and that the water line is supplying water to the humidifier is the way it's supposed to be operating. The humidifier ductwork has a damper on there where it is open for airflow in the winter, but you close it in the summer to make sure that that air is not being recirculating and it's not necessary. So you want to make sure in the winter that everything is evenly flowing. The wintertime, you got to make sure that your walls, where you have water lines on the exterior of the building, that the heat in that room is sufficient to provide heating in that wall when the temperature is extremely cold, or you end up with water lines freezing. In the summer, you need to do a startup of the condensing unit to make sure that that unit is operating efficiently. Make sure the coils are clean. No sticks or kids done stuck something down in there where the fan is. So when you turn the system on, it's not operating. If the fan's not running, you can blow other problems or have other problems. You also want to put a condensing unit cover over the condensing unit if you are in an area where there's an excessive amount of trees, leaves that are dropping on the unit. In that case, as soon as you stop using it in the wintertime and you quit using it during the summertime and going into the winter, you want to cover that unit up so that none of these problems will haunt you when it's time for the AC to be started up around April and May. Check your furnace filters for the winter and the summer. Make sure that everything is operating right. That's about the best you can do. Always call your heating and cooling person to come out there and give you a qualified answer. If I tell you you only need to service your unit maybe once for the summer, because the winter the furnace is rather new, you don't go through these things, or I give you instructions on how you to maintain your system so you won't have to keep calling someone out to do these things. I don't mind telling people how to manage their system. So these are things that it is good for you to know. Al's Heating and Cooling Incorporated is my name. I have somewhat semi-retired, not doing as much as I used to, but I'm trying to maintain the customers that I do have. I stay up with them, make sure they're taken care of, because I've had some bad experience when I've had other professionals that come out to tend to my customers, and almost every time they let me down and my customers unhappy. So it's difficult for me not to take care of the people who I have been taking care of for years, but I will still do that. That's my actual phone number, 816-564-1043. My name is Al Bradford. So that's the completion of my presentation on the HVAC system, which means heating, air conditioning, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. So I'm going to open up the calls now for anybody who might have any questions that they might want to ask me. You can unmute your microphones and ask me whatever question you might like to ask me. The floor is open to you.